Week 16 quarterback rankings. All right. So, what I'm going to do is I have these divvied up into tiers, and I'll give you my preference in the order. You can take it for what it's worth. Okay. And if there's somebody that's really debatable or in the same tier, chances are I don't have them that far off each other. All right. So, it's going to be I might sit here and debate. I might have one over the other if you give me a chance to explain it. But for the most part, if it's in a similar tier, they carry either the same upside and floor, or maybe I find one floor more advantageous than the ceiling. Like, just understand, I play more in tiers than I do rankings. So it wouldn't surprise me if somebody from the same tier outscored each other, or maybe a tier below. Like, I have my reasonings for starting them. Typically, it's a blend of ceiling, floor, consistency, inconsistency, some form or fashion that makes it a ranking. It's not always who I think is going to have the most points. I rank these guys for different reasons. So just know that, all right? Simple rankings. I just like to put that out there. All right, week 16 quarterback rankings. Quarterback rankings. The elite quarterback ones that I have for this week: Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, Dak Prescott, Pat Mahomes. I think those are locks to have good games, right? We talk about Dak Prescott coming off the bad game. I think this is a bounce back effort for Dak against Miami. Lamar, tough matchup against San Francisco, but he's so dependable. You trust him in any given matchup. Okay. So those are my top 5 quarterbacks for the week: Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Dak, Lamar, Mahomes. Those 5 I can see going a lot of different ways. And I'm expecting a bounce back effort from Pat Mahomes against the Raiders. So I know I talked about the Raiders defense being a little bit better. This is a matchup I think they can exploit. All right. So when it comes to elite quarterbacks, those are the top 5. Those are the 5 that I have as my locks to start. I think we started getting a risky mid-tier QB1s. They have a little bit more risk that keeps them out of the elite wide receiver or elite quarterback ones for me this week. Purdy, and it's all matchup for Purdy, because I think they can also lean on the run game. They can lean on the defense. For me, Purdy is the one that starts to pull into the mid-tier, because if he was 220 yards with 2 touchdowns, I don't think that would surprise anybody, just given the matchup and they lean on the run game a little bit more. Or maybe Debo's more involved in the run game. So I think Purdy still belongs in the quarterback one conversation, but I think he's a little more risky than the other 5 that I mentioned previously. Justin Fields carries obviously the floor, but good matchup for him against Arizona at home. And then Trevor Lawrence, he's carrying a little bit of risk because of the injury plus matchup against Tampa Bay. Those 3 are in the mid-tier but risky quarterback ones. Mid-tier but risky quarterback ones. Back in QB1s. Stafford, Tua, Goff, Minshew, Love. Those are the back-end QB1s, high-end QB2s, okay? Those fringe quarterback 1s, quarterback 2s. I think Stafford's been too hot to call him anything but a back-end quarterback 1 the way he's been playing, even with tough matchups. Tua's also got a tough matchup against Dallas, but he's shown that, especially if Tyreek's back, there's going to be a lot of upside for him. Goff is playing extremely well. And then Gardner Minshew has proven that he's going to at least carry a nice floor for most of his games. Maybe he's missing some of the upside, but he's right there in the middle when it comes to floor. And then Jordan Love. Jordan Love obviously has been kind of hit or miss. I think that there's an opportunity for him this week. Yo, I'm going to get to questions here right after I finish quarterbacks. Let me finish quarterbacks. Your high to mid-tier QB2s, more mid-tier QB2s this week, okay? So obviously I just talked about Stafford, Tua, Goff, Minshew, Love. Those are like the elites of the quarterback 2s for me this week. Some of them back in QB1s. But these guys are all mid-tier. So these are more super flex starts than single QB starts. Taylor Heineke, Russell almost got me there. Russell Wilson, Geno Smith coming off of the injury, Baker Mayfield, and Kyler. Okay? Those are like more mid-tier QBs for me this week. Kyler, just because we don't know if he's going to be down with Hollywood. If Hollywood plays and is healthy, maybe I bump up Kyler slightly. Baker Mayfield, obviously, good matchup here against the Jacksonville Jags. He's been playing well. Geno dealing with the injury. We're not sure if he's going to be back or not, but it seems to be a decent spot for Geno as well. Russell Wilson is not a good spot for him against New England, so we got to downgrade him. He had been in that tier above that. And then Taylor Heineke, is a question mark, right? With this Falcons offense in a good spot, how is he going to perform given the fact that he was just benched a couple weeks ago? So those are my mid-tier QB2s. Back in QB2s, more moving into QB3. Back in QB2s. We got Nick Mullins, Joe Flacco, Jake Browning, Derek Carr, Sam Howell. Okay, those are all kind of your back end QB2s, all for different reasons, right? Mullins showed a little bit last week, but we haven't seen a whole lot that says he's super trustworthy in our lineups over some of the options that I just mentioned. Joe Flacco had a down week last week. How's he going to look coming into this week? A little bit, he's a little banged up. Jake Browning should be in a very good spot, but obviously down a big weapon with Jamar Chase. Derek Carr has some upside. We've seen the way he played last week. Difficult matchup against the Los Angeles Rams. Could be a lot better. And then Sam Howell, just fresh off of getting benched. And then the couple weeks before that, hadn't been playing that well. So Sam Howell has fallen tremendously. And then the last tier of probably not startable in most leagues, you have Case Keenum. And this is no order. This is kind of just throwing them out here. Case Keenum, Zach Wilson, Easton Stick, Mason Rudolph, Bryce Young, Bailey Zappi, Aiden O'Connell, who actually played really well last week, but he's still in this tier to me. Aiden O'Connell, and then Will Levis, Ryan Tannehill, whoever you want to put there, okay? Those are your fringe options in Superflex. In Superflex, those are your fringe options. All right, so those are the quarterbacks. If you guys got quarterback questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat. Quarterback questions, drop them in the chat. Quarterback questions, go ahead and drop them. What's good? Pacheco, Warren, or Singletary for this week? I hate them all. They're all kind of terrible to me. If I had to pick one, I'd go probably Singletary, then Pacheco, then Warren. Jay, appreciate you, Doug, for subbing. Should I start Geno or Murray? I like Geno slightly more than Murray, but not much. They're in similar tier to me. Achane, Ridley, Ingram, Zeke, or Reed at the flex. If you're looking safe, you go Zeke or Ingram. If you're looking for upside, it's Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley could have a big game. Why so low on Flacco? For me, Flacco, it's not that I'm low on Flacco. I think there's better options. And this Houston defense has been surprisingly good over the second half of the year. So I think it's just more along the lines of like there's not going to be a whole lot of volume in that game. Joe Flacco could play well, but like that Houston defense has been tough. So I don't think that's low. Back in QB2, that seems about right for Joe Flacco. Please flex 2, Ty Chandler, Aaron Jones, Singletary, Gus Edwards, Jaden Reed. I'm going with the first two options, Ty Chandler and Aaron Jones. Ty Chandler, Aaron Jones. Need 2 receivers in a flex, Jalen Waddle, Wilson, Ridley. Y'all don't even want to wait for the running backs and wide receivers, huh? y'all don't want to wait. 2 receivers in a flex, so you need 3 total. Waddle, Wilson, Ridley, Godwin, Laporta. I go Ridley here, Waddle, and then either Godwin or Laporta. Even though I like the matchup for Wilson, just depending on if Zach Wilson's even out there, I'd probably go Laporta here. Laporta. You like Tua or Stafford? My opponent has Kupp and Puka. I don't think that really matters. I guess it would be cool to like if you start Stafford, but in order for Stafford to do good, you got to have Kupp and Puka do good too. So I don't mind Stafford. I kind of like Stafford better than Tua anyway this week. I like Stafford better than Tua. All right, let me